What is going on, everyone, and welcome back to a very special episode of the Star Wars Exchange. It may only be episode 61, I think, but it's a big episode because it's our first official episode together that we're releasing, at least, of the two of us in person in Mike's hometown in Chicago. I made the trip out. I guess everyone already knew I was in the States because I was at Celebration, but after spending some time around, I made it to Chicago, and here we are. I'm with Mike in the flesh, and Mike is with me in the flesh, but how are you today, my friend? I guess I already know, but I have to ask so that people can know.
It's been an unreal experience. It's like seeing Ari sit here in front of the bookcase. It's really shocking still.
It just feels like a green screen to me.
Yeah, it's a green screen.
Yeah.
Our secrets all revealed, but
Yeah.
it's been unreal. I mean, I knew the day was coming because the Chicago was part of his pit stop as part of his little journey in the States, and I've been prepping for it, but nothing could actually prep me for the whole experience. And it's just been, we've been trying to do podcasts and stuff, but it's just mostly been hanging out, doing stuff, a little bit of tourism, but just mostly hanging out with each other and stuff like that because we're really good friends. So it's been finally to do a podcast, like sitting here being like, not just hitting me, we're actually doing an in-person podcast because at Celebration, we did have time for one, and we only did
we did a bunch of just like videos,
short videos.
And that was just different because we were like at Celebration, we weren't really sitting down focusing. It was like we sat down, we were like, what do you think is what do you think is what do you think? And it was like we're just going crazy. But now it's finally we can just sit down, relax a little bit, talk the talk, and do it all. So I guess today's episode, what we're doing is, I thought for our first episode, we thought that it would be a good idea to do like the story of the Star Wars Exchange, because we like touch on it here and there during episodes, but every episode, there's a focus topic. We're talking about the news or the Obi-Wan episode or whatever it is. So I know it's very flattering for both of us that people actually seem to care about like what goes on with the two of us. What's it like doing this whole show, me from Australia, him from Chicago. We've got all these Instagram, like people were interested. So we thought, you know what, this will be a good chance to actually sit down and talk about that and sort of answer some of those questions, because we want to talk about it anyway. We think it's cool. And for anyone that wants to care, then this is the episode to listen to. So, so I want to talk about how I started the show, how I personally entered the community, all that stuff. And then I want to hear from Mike. He's going to tell us about, how he entered the show, what that process was like, and obviously about how he's a part of the community, such a big part of it, obviously, as we know, Mr. Old Star Wars. But so I guess I just wanted to start off by saying, my way of entering the Star Wars community, I was 11. No one ever that I knew besides my older brother Jasper was watching Star Wars Rebels, right? And I wanted people to watch Star Wars Rebels with, not watch it with, but talk about it with. And so I just randomly one day, I have no idea why I decided to do this, because I seriously have no idea why I decided to do it. But I thought, I'm going to start up a Star Wars Rebels page on Instagram so people know that my thing is Star Wars Rebels and that's what I want to talk about, right? And then that's just what I did. And then I randomly would post a few stills from it. And then I think one of our friends, True, he was like, oh, shout out to this guy. I asked him to do it, but he still did it. He knows I always appreciate that, because then so I already had maybe I don't even know, 15 followers maybe or something. And then True did that, and then went up to 50 or something. And then from there, it just started growing. And I was like, okay, this is random. But at the time I was like, oh, just cool, more people to talk about Star Wars Rebels with. I never thought I'll become an influencer or anything. Not that I think I'm an influencer, but just
he is.
Anyway, but so then that happened, and then I just started running this Instagram page that a whole bunch of people started following. But I'll be honest, it just was what it was back then. It really wasn't anything special. I would just repost memes, and I know we a lot of friends we know, and you as well. That's kind of just what we used to do. You used to repost artwork and memes, and you could just be out. Some people seem to still be doing that, but that's their own thing. Anyways, but so that's all it was. And I was sort of going through high school, because, as I said, I was only 11 when I started that. And then as I was going through high school, I was kind of on and off of it. When the movies were coming out, I would come on there because I want to talk to a wider range of people about that stuff. And that's kind of what it was. And then all of a sudden, I thought, 2019 was happening, and it was a huge period. We had Fallen Order, The Mandalorian, and The Rise of Skywalker. There was so much going on, and I was really enjoying all of it. You know, Mando was airing, Fallen Order came out, so I was just really enjoying where that was all going. Rise of Skywalker, you know, was what it was, but for the most part, I was just really invested in Star Wars at the time, which I mean, I always am. But every Star Wars fan knows that there's like just stages throughout like the year, I guess, where just it's like for some reason that month or that week I was just so invested in. That's sort of how I felt, and then obviously COVID happened, and then I had nothing to do because I was like in my, what would you guys call it? I was in my junior year of high school. I was like, okay, I want to do more stuff with this because I'm actually enjoying it. I started to really, you know, focus on it, and it became like a part of my daily routine to be posting and talking to people on it. And then I would see people like Mike and, you know, some of our other friends write these really nice reviews for the shows out, and specifically at the time I think it was Clone Wars season 7. They were writing these really lovely reviews on all the episodes. I thought, you know what, that's so cool. I would love to do something like that, but that's just not me, like sitting there writing this like, you know, articulate review. Not that I'm not articulate, but it's like the effort of translating that's just not how I'm best going to be able to communicate what I'm thinking, you know. So pretty much I just decided from there, you know what everyone is doing? They're doing these podcast things. And actually last night, me and Mike were watching a bunch of videos I made when I was 12. So I always had this itch to like do YouTube podcast type stuff, just that field where I would talk about Star Wars and post it, and that was it. And, you know, because I had a lot of inspirations as a little kid. I used to watch a lot of Star Wars Explained. I still do, but that was like sort of my inspiration for that aspect. And then like even I remember watching a lot of Hello Greedo, this old guy called Phoenix, who actually on his channel at the time when I was like 12, he would like give me a shout out, and that was like the coolest thing in the world that happened. But yeah, so those were a few creators who I like really sort of looked up to, and I was just a young kid, and so I made all these videos which aren't on the internet anymore, but I showed Mike a few of them last night. They're so horrible. They're so hard to watch, but it shows that the interest was always there, you know. So I've always wanted to do that. And then I would have been 16, 17 at the time. I had braces. I had like an expander in my mouth. I could barely even talk. But I just thought, you know what? I want to do this really badly, and I'm just going to do it. So then halfway through 2020, I just started the podcast. I like planned it out for ages. There was like a month where I was like, this. I wanted to really make sure I did it right. There were there was a lot of people who helped me, who I'll try and, you know, shout them out throughout. But like I remember specifically my mom and my brother really like pushed me to do it. Well, I mentioned to them that I wanted to, and then they both sort of, from memory, they were like, yeah, that would be cool. You should do that. And then also one of my family friends who actually worked professionally in that field, I talked to her about it, and she was very on board with it. She thought it would be a great idea. She helped me set up a lot of stuff, buy microphones, buy gear, you know, all this stuff. So she was a great help. So shout out to Joel. But yeah, so then from there I started doing it, and then it just was what it was. I would talk, and that was it. I did like that. Those original episodes are still on Spotify. They're not on YouTube, but if you scroll all the way to the bottom of the Spotify feed, you'll hear them. You can hear. I mean, Mike says he couldn't hear it, but I can hear the braces and the retainer. It's just like, oh, it's awful. But anyways, so I did that for a while, and then from there I started to. I got a guest from like just someone I went to school with who also liked Star Wars. I think that episode's still out. And then I was like, oh, this guest thing is kind of cool. Maybe I'll have like my brother on one day, which he still doesn't come on. Eventually he will. But that was sort of the thought. But then I was like, you know what? There's a few people from Star Wars Instagram that I still like occasionally talk to. And one of them was called Noah, who I think he's been on the show like 3 times now. He was on for the Book of Boba reviews, the Star Warrior. So shout out to him. Because if he said no to me asking him come on, I might have stopped asking people altogether. But I asked him to come on the podcast, and he was like, yeah, that's awesome, let's do it. And then it was around Halloween, and we were like, all right, let's talk about some scary style stuff. And then that's what we did. And so then I did that episode. I thought that was awesome. And then from there, I was like, you know, we'll just keep going. I'll just keep asking people. And then, you know, I would ask, you know, our friend Austin, who's obviously been on True. There's Toomey. There was a lot that I won't be able to name all of them, but and then eventually I started to see like this group of people. I was like, oh, they seem to all like know each other. So I was like, maybe this guy all Star Wars, because he knows all the people that have previously been on the podcast. Maybe he'll want to come on. And we had like really, really briefly talked in DMs, like pretty much nothing, but we had like really small conversations. So I just threw it out to him. I was like, would you want to come on? And then, yeah, he was down. And then it took a minute for him to actually come on because of stuff that you might want to go into. You can talk about it if you want. But it took a second for him to get on, as in Mike. But then he did. And then this episode, I would highly recommend going to listen to that episode if you're interested in like our whole situation, because that set up everything. Because from there, we like really like hit it off from there. Because most of our first ever conversation was recorded on the podcast, but then even when we finished, we talked for like a good, like, I feel like it was maybe half an hour, an hour after it, just talking about random Star Wars stuff. So that was super cool. And then from there, I ended up becoming like really good friends with like you and a lot of those other guests. Like, and we had a nice little circle. You guys already like had that, but I just sort of entered it. Thanks to Mike, because he was like, "Oh, this other guy's cool. I'll throw him in there." So then, I'd start hanging out with these guys, and then I just kept having them on over and over again. But Mike was just on every single one. Like, if you go to the last 5 episodes where the show isn't like us together, it's just featuring all Star Wars. And so then I always from the start, I thought, I want to have a co-host. I'm just doing this by myself for now, but I want to do it with someone else eventually. And then I was like, me and Mike were really good friends at the time, and he just was always on the show. So I was like, you know what? I know he's done podcasts and stuff in the past, so I'm just going to throw it out to him and say, like, Mike, do you want to do this? So I thought I'd give it a crack, and I think there's some fireworks going off or something in the background. But Jesus Christ. Anyways, though, so I threw it out to him, asked him, and then I honestly was just like, I'm just going to give it a crack. I don't think he was going to say yes, but I'm just going to give it a crack and see what happens. And then you were just so down for it. Because you said you can go into this yourself, but you were saying it was good timing for you. You really want to get back into that field. So then, bam, it all worked out. And then we started the podcast. And then I'll talk more about what happened from there, because Mike needs to talk, because I've talked for like 10 minutes straight. But yeah, that's sort of how I personally got to that point, and how this show has gotten. That's how the show got to that point where me and Mike were like, you know what, let's do the podcast together. But Mike, you tell us, let's hear about your side of that, because obviously you entered the community before I did. You're obviously a bit older, but you entered before I did, and then you did a bunch of podcasting stuff, and then you joined the Star Wars Exchange. Tell everyone your sort of story in that regard. We want to hear it. Let's go.
So, all right. So, joined the Star Wars Instagram community in 2013. I felt I remember being on the school bus, or not on the school bus, on the city bus from my high school to my house, and every time I would go there, I would it was just like, you had your day in high school, and ours was very strict where we couldn't go on our phone. So Star Wars was in I guess in a renaissance age of, we were actually going to get stuff coming out now. I mean, there were so many things in the works, like Rebels and episode 7, and apparently they had greenlit episode 8 and 9 and stuff. So it's like, okay, cool. This feels like a perfect point to jump in and start covering a lot of this stuff, just because I had a great experience with Clone Wars, and I just always wanted to do something beyond just being a viewer every Sunday morning for season 5. I wanted to do something else. So when Clone Wars was said to be winding down, I was like, okay, I'm gonna jump from this ship to the next into this new wave. And it was amazing. Like, I remember being in that city bus and looking through my feed, being like, oh, this was announced. Oh, this was like just all this news coming out, and it was like a season 5 Blu-ray, this and that, and I just wanted to be involved personally. So that's exactly when I was like, I actually talked to someone I went to high school with, and I was like he we both had the idea, but he was the one that said out loud, he's like, what if we created a page together? And I was like, yeah, let's do it. And I don't even know why it didn't work out, because originally my account was supposed to be run by 2 people, me and that friend. But ultimately, he just didn't have the time for it, and it was always me. I never shared the password, so from the get-go, it was just always me. And I was like I said, at first I started like posting all like these collages of like, I wanted to cover all the aspects of Star Wars. I remember that my first post was like Force Unleashed, a picture of Clone Wars, and very blurry pictures, by the way, because I didn't know how Google Images work. Back then, you had to wait till the image loaded completely before you could actually download it, so it would come out really fuzzy. So anyways, that was in itself its own experience, and eventually I was doing like these community like favorites of like verses and elimination games, and I just built a community where people just keep coming back to my page for not just news, but like ways to be involved in the community, whether that was voting for my little stupid games or whatnot. So it was a fun moment. I
remember those. Those were so like from you and everyone. Like that was like a trend.
Yeah. What's funny is I had started them because I saw like the DC and Marvel pages doing them, and in our community no one was doing them. So I was like, I'll do them. Yeah. So I started doing that, and then because they were so popular on my page, other people started doing them. Yeah, so you saw that? You actually saw it from my page?
I don't know if it was from yours. I just remember seeing like that just being a thing. I was like, I guess I'll do that.
And to this day, it's still going on, and a lot of people still give me credit. I remember when you brought this or when you created this in the community, and I'm like, you are an OG. But yeah, I brought that, and that was so long ago. But after a while, I just wanted to also do more. So I took the leap into YouTube. I started, I remember put a casting call out there. It was like, hey, does anyone, because listen, Ari knows this about me. I'm too scared to do things on my own. So it's like, I wanted someone in the co-host chair with me. I got like, over the years, I had multiple people. And, I would sit there on YouTube, Google Hangouts and do these videos every Friday. Every Friday we do a podcast together, recapping the news and talking about like what we want to see in Star Wars and stuff. So eventually I built a network, it was kind of like a Rome, but except it was kind of built in a day and fell right the next day. So it was just, it was amazing to see, in a way, because it was a great learning experience of what not to do and what to do differently. So it was like, okay, cool. And that gave me a lot of, tools for my belt to use for the future. And
the interest was always there.
The interest was always there. So what's crazy is now it's like, before I was like doing all these podcasts and stuff. And as Ari was saying, I like always loved podcasting. If anything, if I was the first one of the community to have a podcast, like to do I'm talking about like the Instagram community of like our little like our little corner. I was like pretty sure one of, if not the first, one of the first to like venture out and start doing podcasting on YouTube from like the Star Wars Instagram pages. Because back then, like Ari said, it was just memes. I guess the elimination games, like news reporting. But I was like, I want to do something more. So every time I would just try to expand, and like I said, built a network where I was covering gaming and all this other stuff. And then, then I just, for a while, I even tried podcasting back when Mandalorian was coming out, but it was just never anything consistent, just because I was really busy at the time. And the other person that I didn't feel like they gave their 100%. So I was just like, well, I don't know. I was like, I just really can't do this on my own. It's fun, but I just rather, instead of me, because here's the thing, when you have guests on, when you're by yourself, I don't know if this rings true to you, but like, you bring a guest on and you have an amazing time, and then they leave, and it's
and then you got to
do all of it. You got to clean up the house. It's like
relatable,
so it's like, oh, like that's no fun. Like I wanted someone else to help me do all the work. And then actually I was, I even tried something else. I helped produce a show called Grogu's Gang with the Bro Wars on Instagram. Went on there. It was a very competing podcast against yours. That was the joke. That was the joke.
I was gonna say.
But we had a roundtable of cool hosts and stuff. But that only lasted like 5 episodes, because then for Carter, he got so busy. The Bro Wars, he got so busy he couldn't edit, because at the time didn't have a laptop. Spilled coffee all over.
We actually met Carter at Celebration, which was really nice.
Yeah, we did. Nice yes, we did. So at the time, I told him, I was like, look, I couldn't help. He came to me, he pitched me the podcast, and I was like, I will help you produce it. Now I've moved it up in that stage where I could just like be the executive producer or whatnot. So that's what I did. And I organized the whole show for him, the format and everything. He brought the people, and it was a nice experience. But I couldn't help him with editing, and the others, I'm pretty sure they didn't even know how to edit. So, so I just stepped away after a while, because we never did one again. So I was just left empty, being like, I do want to do a podcast, but I just don't know who and what. So that was 2020 of January when we really started that off, I guess. and then I crossed over into his
no,
podcast.
It wasn't, because 2020 January.
Oh, 2021. 2021.
Yeah.
Sorry. 2021.
Yeah.
My fault. It all seems like one.
Yeah.
Because of the pandemic, it just seems like one whole mesh. But anyways, January 2021 was when we started doing Grogu's Gang, and it lasted like up to March or something, or maybe it was even we started February.
Yeah.
But and then in that time, I ventured to your podcast, and now I guess
that was before Grogu's Gang.
Was it before Grogu's Gang? Really? Okay.
Oh wait, no, it wasn't, because I remember talking about it on the show.
Yeah.
So you would like you probably just started. Yeah, because we did our podcast in February 2021.
Yeah.
So it would have been just ending or just beginning.
Somewhere along those lines.
Yeah.
But I remember, and because it all seems like a mesh to me, it was because I was dealing heavily with anxiety and stuff. Like, it was just really bad. I had long hair. If you guys probably saw me on Instagram on live streams with my freaking Star Wars beanie hat, just because I had long hair and I was embarrassed by it. And I remember joining, or actually he reached out and was like, hey, I would love to have you on. I was like, sure. Like, that would be awesome. But I was so like introverted and scared and had like these walls up where I was like, I don't know. Like, I'm trying to be only talking to people that I'm comfortable with right now that are in my circles and stuff. I was like, I don't know, but I'm also trying to live to the identity of all Star Wars that people at play, so I didn't want to disappoint him and say no. So, because I get asked all the time, like, hey, can I interview you for my class? Can I interview you for this? And sometimes I have to just say no because I don't have the time. But I remember just being like, I want to do this because also all my friends have been on it. So I was like, I want to do this.
I manipulated him onto the show.
He did. He's like, let me pull all his friends first so he can say yes.
So give him a bit of FOMO.
Yeah, exactly. No, at the end, I was just like, well, I got to do it if everyone's doing it.
Yeah.
So then I had like stood you up like maybe once. I didn't stand you up.
It was just like the day we were going to record. You were like reality was you were just feeling anxious, but you texted, you like, oh, I'm busy, and I was like, yeah, that's fine. Like that was bound to happen. Like eventually with a guest. So it's like, whatever.
Oh, I felt so bad, but I felt so anxious at the same time where I'm like, I can't do it because he tried setting a date and time, and it's with anxiety. With people that deal with anxiety disorders will know when you get a date and time, you start freaking out about it. So I was like, yeah, whenever, we'll do it whenever, and so we'll see what the vibe is that day. And that day was not the vibe. So I had to like, oh no, sorry, can't do it. Something came up type deal. Just because I didn't feel comfortable sharing or whatnot.
Yeah.
So then eventually I was able to come in.
Yeah. And it was only like a week or two later.
Yeah. But it was even then I was just anxious. I was like, oh, let me get this stupid podcast out of the way. Let me get this stupid interview. I just don't want to disappoint him. I'll do it and I'll see. And I even had told my mom about it. I was like, oh, I'm freaking out just because it was a very weird time for me. And I'm sure a lot of people can relate. Yeah. But once I did it, I remember jumping into, he sent me the Zoom. I was like, oh my God, it's happening. Jumped straight away in there. And then I see this kid with a nice banner behind him. And I was like, I've seen many faces, but this is not a face that I've ever seen. And I just by his aura and everything was just so comforting.
Yeah.
And
real quick, I just want to say, when you did jump in, I just recorded an episode with someone else.
Oh.
And I'd like, just after that, I just like knocked a water over or something. And then so like, as you jumped in, I was like cleaning up. And I was like, oh, sorry. So it was like a manic first like few minutes, but anyway, yeah.
I remember that, yeah. But other than that, it was just very calm after that little frenzy. Because if anything, that helped me out because I was freaking out. So it's like, oh shoot, a distraction. Okay, cool. He's busy. While I try to ground myself. But oh my God, talk about an experience. We filmed. I mean, we had never had a conversation really before then.
It was literally just like occasional text.
Yeah,
that was it. Yeah.
And the fact that we talked like some things beforehand, but it wasn't even like, hi, how are you? Hey, what's up, man? Thanks for having me on. Like, I'm excited for this. That friendly chatter. And then he's like, please turn off your phone. Make sure it's not on. Please do not swear. If you got to use the bathroom, signal me and I'll call for you. Like just all this whole run sheet of just things to do and what not to do. I was like, okay, I'll respect your house. Awesome. So once we got going, then that's when we actually talked. And by the end, he just reignited a spirit, a vibe in me that I was just like, yes, I like what I was doing with Grogu's Gang, but I always wanted to just do my own thing. but with someone. And I was like, at the back of my mind, I was like, how cool would it be if I podcasted with him? But it was just a thought. Nothing. This was still like February in 2021.
Yeah. I thought that with like every guest I had on, I was like, maybe they could be the co-host. But like, honestly, like this is not like, I'm not just manifesting this and rewriting history. Genuinely, after that episode, I was like respect to everyone else who come on, but I was like, if I could pick one person to co-host, it would be him.
Really?
Yeah. And that was like more than, it was like, that was 8 months before I asked you. So 8 months before I asked you, I was like, if I could do it with one person, it would be him. And then that just stuck with me the whole time.
Wow.
So
yeah, I didn't even know that.
Yeah.
But it was genuinely, I like left there and was like, wow, this was such a great experience too, where I even invited you to playing Battlefront with me and other
like
people.
straight after it.
Right, straight after. Yeah.
Oh my God.
Straight after. So we had become like, we just hit it off literally. Because then I invited him like, oh, like I'm gonna play Battlefront with some friends, like if you want to come. And he came.
Yeah.
He like came through. So he joined the Discord and everything, a Discord thing we use for party chat. He joined and we played. So it was like amazing fun. And
I just completely forgot about that because we literally, as soon as we had met that day, then after you were like, oh, come play Battlefront. Yeah. So shout out to Mike for asking me to come play with him. Like.
So and we got to talk to him more. And I remember playing at we played Versus. No, Battle Heroes and versus Villains, whatever.
Yeah.
And it was on Felucia. Yeah, I remember that specifically. And we talked a lot then. And another point was, what was my other point? It was, so here's the thing. As my years, at this point, I had been on Instagram for like 8 years or whatever. And I remember seeing this guy, and being like, we need more people, and not to sound like, oh, like I'm gatekeeping the community or I'm like this father figure, whatever.
He is a bit,
but it's like I saw this guy and I was like, we need more voices like him. Like I feel like he was just the future of what the community was gonna be. Like I remember being like so like being like I kind of want to take him on and show him the ropes of a few things and expand what he can do. Just because I saw a lot of me and him in terms of like, just like who knew that this guy was running pulling all the strings back here. And I saw no one like really talking about it and bringing chatter about it, where I was like, I took like what would you call it? Maybe like, who was it? Oh, Usher, when he like wrote or like signed Justin Bieber. So I was like, or maybe comparable to Dr. Dre and Eminem. But it's like, I see a lot of potential in this kid. I wanna help him out, and I had trained a lot of people over the years, but this one just hit me different. Where like I wanted to take care with it, where I didn't just go in right away and was like, all right, like give me your phone number, let's do this. Like I was like,
actually no, I was gonna say you did that straight away, but that was not straight away. Because I remember you being like, what's your number? And I was like, okay, I'll give you my number, sure. You're the first like Instagram person. I was like, okay, I guess you can have my number. See why not? Like,
so and that was fun to like figure out with the area codes and stuff and put in like different numbers.
Yeah,
I still to this day, I've for your context, I still have another Ari because the other one didn't work. Yeah, and I never deleted it for some reason. But yeah, I just saw a lot of potential in him and was like, you know what? It would be great to like just like show him the ropes and like I said, expand what you can do. And yeah, it amazed me that like I just went into the Zoom and it's like this guy just sitting there with like a cap on and just being like knowing his craft and stuff. And like I said, reminded me a lot of what I did back in the day. And it was like, yeah, like this is awesome. So yeah, we vibed really well from there. And are we going to talk about when you asked me to? Yeah.
Have you covered everything from that period? Because it was like, I mean, pretty much. You were a guest. And then because you kept coming back on the show.
Oh, yeah. We were such, I guess, good friends that like, he would ask me like Rising Storm, come on. Like,
it was like to the point where we wouldn't like organize it. Right. I would just be like, we would be talking and I'd be like, I finished Rising Storm today. I really want a podcast. Do you want to just jump in it? And it would just be like, sure. And then we just do that. And then we did that for a bunch of stuff like Disney Plus Day. That was the last ever episode of the Star Wars Exchange, I'm pretty sure. Or of Star Wars Exchange before it became the Star Wars Exchange.
I just want to say real quickly, and you take my like honestly best memory of last year was your experience with Rising Storm, because every reaction was it right? Yeah. Every reaction he had, he would text me. And I remember it was really cloudy where he lives. Do people know where you live?
Yeah, Melbourne.
Okay. Melbourne. So it was really cloudy out there. and I remember he took a picture and sent it to me. He was like, the Nile attacking Melvin. And I thought it was the funniest thing. I thought it was the funniest thing. I was like, bro, this guy's funny.
Yeah.
So, we just like, we would text back and forth. And then, you're like, oh, can you come on this thing? Can you come on that? So I was like, it was like, if I was like podcasting with a co-host again, genuinely, because even the other people we had on there, it was just like,
Yeah, because exactly, it's like we would like, and respect, because I think I remember Michelle came on, or like one of our other friends.
Oh yeah, that was a really good one. That was a really good
but
one.
it did feel a bit like we were running the show and then they were there, even though it was my show and you were just meant to be the guest.
Sorry, Aiden and Austin.
Oh, that's right.
Yeah.
But yeah, no, I do. So I'm trying to pull up the actual episodes because we covered like so much stuff together. But yeah, like because you can see in the podcast, it was like all me and then some guests, and then there was like
Bad Batch.
And then
we did Bad Batch.
That's it. Yeah, and then there was like the mic era.
Yeah,
it wasn't quite the mic era, but we were just slowly getting to like the point. But yeah, Bad Batch, Rising Storm, Disney Plus Day.
Yeah.
All that stuff. So yeah, a lot of good memories there. And then another memory was just like, we would start watching like Bad Batch episodes together with a few of our other friends, and then that sort of became like that became, I feel it was a time when we really became good friends. And then yeah, I reckon then October rolled around. I sort of said my side of it, but what was your experience like that? So of that day and just that whole era?
Man, we actually went through something that made us like strong. Like it just like we were already on each other's paths, but because of this event, it was like it made me that I was like, no, I don't want to lose. Listen, I've dealt with so many people over the years that it was just like people come and go. That I was like, all right, like cool. Like I'm telling you, half of the people that I met, more than half the people that I met on Instagram, like all the pages, they're not here anymore. They're not. They're just in their own living life, doing whatever, and that's cool. But I was just like, whatever, another person. Not with Ari. It actually like because of this event, I was like. I remember being like, no, I actually don't want to lose you. Like all these other people, I'm like, I don't want to lose you. So after that, then he asked me if I want to do podcasting with him. And it was it on your birthday or a little bit before?
It could have been like just before or after. I just turned 18.
Yeah.
Yeah, because it was my first like legal drink, like drinking with you.
Oh yeah.
Stuff.
Oh yeah.
Yeah. And then something else I just wanted to remember was the day that I asked him. I actually hadn't planned on it. Like I knew I was going to ask him, but that specific day I hadn't planned on doing it. But we were just in a call really late, and then I hadn't don't think like, oh, I was just drunk and asked him. I hadn't even started drinking yet. But then I was like, I think I started drinking to celebrate that you had said yes. But yeah, I was like, okay, now just feels like a good natural time because like Book of Boba was like a few months away. I was about to get really busy because I was in my senior year. I was about to have all my exams and my finals and stuff. So I was like, all right, now's probably actually a good time to do it. So I asked you, and then
obviously, look, where's I said yes. So I was like, I immediately, and you expected. I remember Ari was like, oh,
I expected you to say, I'll think about it. Yeah,
I'll think about it. But because of just all their experience, I was like, yes. Like everybody felt like I would, because every time I would do a show with him, he'd like, hey, sorry guys, I haven't podcasted in a bit. I'm gonna get things running back up on the podcast.
A month break between each. Yeah.
And so
I wasn't motivated to do it by myself.
Yeah, exactly.
And I didn't want to ask you every week to come and record.
And it was by the end when he asked, I was like, yes, and you're like, really? You're just like that, really? And I was like, yes. Like I've literally been wanting to podcast with someone else. And you were the perfect fit. And I remember our friend Star Wars Dude True, he was like I just never put it together. Like you guys just the Mike the podcaster as you were known and Ari the podcaster as he's known, perfect match.
Yeah.
And I was like, yeah, you're right. And it's not like, oh, we're just good at podcasting. Like we're also good friends and stuff like that. Yeah. So it's like, no, it was just the vibe. So when he asked me, I was like, yes, put me on, like let's do it. And it was an incredible task to take just because like it wasn't like, oh, we're gonna go on this app and throw text and make our cover image. He went all out in terms of planning and reaching for the stars and making sure that we made sure we set this new era straight off running. So he made sure we had a cover image. Like he was like every day he would call me and be like, oh, let's talk about the podcast, even though he was prepping for his final exams for senior year, and I was finishing up.
Which, by the way, I didn't like give up on my exams.
Oh no!
I had already got accepted to my uni that I was going to, so I was sort of just like, all right, whatever. Exams don't matter. I was gonna focus on the podcast, but I still studied it.
No, he did. He trusted me. He would be like, "Oh, I'm not gonna communicate with you for 72 hours." I was like, "Okay."
So I remember that.
Yeah,
that was the funny era of my life, honestly.
No, it was great. It was great, and I remember just being so like I had a lot of things going on too. I was writing like my first short story that you've read, by the way. No, he hasn't. But I was doing also for school was really busy. I was doing all these final projects that I had to do, and it was senior classes, so it was like all the senior SEM classes. Yeah. So I had a lot going on too. So then it just gave us a month to like kind of work on our stuff and also kind of pick at the podcast little by little, but then join forces in December and really go in and cover book of book.
I asked you around mid-October, and then we launched it mid-December. So from the point I asked you, it wasn't like, as Mike said, it wasn't just throw this together, put it out. Yeah. 2 months, we really planned it because I know I felt like this, and I'm sure you did as well. I was like, I want this to be right. I don't want to just be like, oh yeah, Mike's the co-host now. I want to be like, this is the new era. And I even went to the point, I'm going to change the name of the podcast just slightly, because before I was just like, welcome to Star Wars Exchange. But now I'm like, this is the Star Wars Exchange. We pretty much consider it, season 1 was like my first 30 episodes. And then season 2 has been like this next. So this is almost the first episode of season 3, I would say, because this is a new sort of era.
Oh, yeah.
We're here together. So me hosting, then the next 30 was like us doing it together, co-hosting. Right. And then this is the 61st episode, because so it's like, we're almost beyond that point where it was just me. Like the show is more us than it ever was just me. So it's like, which is crazy. And this is that episode, which is super cool. And that why I think this is almost like the start of season 3. It's like, this is unofficial. This is sort of just like how we think of it. But I think this is the start of season 3, because it's like the new era. We're sitting here together. Like, it's a different energy. You know, we've celebration has come and gone, and like, now we're here. But do you have anything else to say about like that specific time of when we were linking up, getting everything together?
No, I think it was definitely it was also a rebirth for me, just because a lot of the things that I did podcasting wise didn't fit anymore. I would have like old formats of like, let's run through the movie news first. Let's run through the gaming news. Let's run through the comic news. Let's run through the novel news. That is so old and boring. Yeah. That Ari brought in. Yes, he had news to cover and bullets to cover, but he did it in such a natural conversation way. That was very tricky for me, just because I was always used to being like, all right, everyone, welcome back to the Star Wars Exchange. All right, everyone, welcome back. Okay, so let's get started. This week on Friday, Lucasfilm announced we have a new gaming show panel or whatever coming up. So it's like I was used to that format, and Ari just works it in where he's talking more naturally, and it's just more conversation heavy than fact heavy. So it's very tricky for me to like kind of like cope with that. And I remember like us talking on the phone about a lot of that stuff and being like, not too sure about that.
But that was like I would say like growing pains.
That's what I was gonna say. Yeah. It was our growing pains era, just because we had different, we just came from different, not just backgrounds culturally, but we just came from different backgrounds in the Instagram community.
Yeah, exactly. And like, it's a really good point. And it was a very interesting period, because I think now, like, I mean, we probably struck that good balance a while ago, but there was a point where like, it was a bit like, it was fine, but it was just like we weren't like having the exact same vision. And then there was a point I remember I felt like we really like sort of hit the stride and was like, okay, this is like we like have that same vision now. Like, we both know what we want to do with the episodes. And even now, like, each episode will be like, okay, like say, I don't know, with the Obi-Wan trailer, it's like, all right, how do we want to cover it? And like we might both have like, this is why it's so good to have another person. Like, Michael say this, I'll say this, and it's like we have a different idea of how we want to cover it, and then you find that healthy balance, and then that's a whole new idea that you didn't have, and then it's and then it's better. So like that's just, I mean, that's kind of cliche, like teamwork makes the dream work.
but it is,
it's true. Genuinely true.
It's
and
work.
Then also like, you were mentioning before, like, you do the podcast and then the guest leaves and you're done. But no, this is so much easier because we just sit there and we finish it off, and it feels. Nowadays, sometimes we're just kind of in a rush. And it's like, all right, you go do this and I'm going to do this over the next day, and we sort of get done. But for the most part, like, it doesn't feel. it's just like, I know like Mike's on the other side doing it, even if we're not calling, which most of the time we're just like on the phone anyway, talking about, what do we want for the thumbnail? What do we want for this?
Right.
So
it's been great for me because I always care about my stuff and I always want to make it look good. But when you have someone over, looking over your shoulder and whatnot, it's like, I want this to make him go, wow. And I remember so many occasions, I'm just like, I put it in my to-do list. It's like sit for an hour and mess around for like, future layouts and stuff of podcasts. So then next time I call him, which, we talk like every day, but it's like next time I talk to him, I'm like, look what I made. So, to get like, wow, that looks so cool. So it's been, for me, it's been also like challenging and great motivator, like working with someone else to do all that stuff. So it's been, bringing out our A game, if you will.
And something else I think is like we're sort of at a point where we got here a while ago, but like now it's just super like easy to work because we know our roles and we just do them, like, and it's a good, like, I feel like it's very like just 50-50 effort. Like Mike will do half, I'll do half. And, like certain things you'll see, like, Mike will put the audio together, make the thumbnails, do all that. Like I'll edit the YouTube, put this, do all the, how would you say, like the producing, like not the producing, like like pushing it out, like posting it, like all that stuff. Like, doing timestamps. So anyway, so we have like roles divided, and then like, anyway, so it just makes it a lot easier. And it's just like, now it's like so easy for us to make podcasts because it's just routine.
It's routine. And I remember even back then, like in our January era, I remember when we were getting like accustomed and used to that stuff, we would be on the phone just throughout doing this stuff, talking and getting to know more about each other and stuff like that. I remember
we didn't plan. We were like, all right, now let's talk about and learn about each other for the podcast benefit. It was like that just naturally
happened. And in those conversations, shout out Jasper. I'd talk to Jasper and stuff, and it'd be like, like I'd be talking to him and something would happen just because it was late at night for me, and it was like his day was just beginning. So whenever something would happen, and I'd be there and be like, wow. So it was just, I think that was really like the era where it was like, we hit our stride, and we were just like, I mean, now it's just like better than it was, but it was just funny back then because it was like we were already really good friends, but then that's when we just started becoming like really, really good friends. So it was just very fascinating. Now I look about it. That was just a shower thought, but I just thought I had to say that because I'm like, wow, that is so interesting how we were just back in January to where we are now, where he's sitting here.
I know. It's a crazy like evolution to think about.
Yeah.
Like, something I kind of want to go back a bit to when we were talking about like sort of you and stuff, like, because the podcast it's never felt like I'm mentoring him or he's mentoring me. It's like I feel like we both came in with like an equal amount of knowledge, different sort of knowledge, but equal amount of knowledge, and so we've sort of worked together on that. But on the Instagram front, I was always sort of saying, Instagram, whatever, like, because I sort of decided in 2020 that podcast is what I'm doing. But then I did start to enjoy the Instagram stuff. I can't remember the exact point, but I was like, it was actually when I started hanging out with you and a few of our other Instagram friends. I was like, I'm sick of just, reposting. So that one was the point. I was like, I'm stop reposting. But then they got to another one, and like my posts, like they're fine, but they could just be so much better. And like I was literally posting like collages and then like the news, this, and I was just like, ugh, it was fine, but anyway. So then Mike did start sort of teaching me like the tricks of the trade. So I did get like, we were talking in that original podcast episode. There was, I think it was a joke at the time. Mike's like, I can mentor you if you want. And then, like, we just met. And I was like, oh, that'd be great. But then it literally became the case at least in the sense of Instagram, because he would teach me like my page is like literally what it is because Mike would teach me how to do this, and this. And now it's got to the point where people think like we're stealing each other's posts or whatever. But it's like we just like he's taught me how to think like him and how to do that. So we end up making the same posts.
We
and
do.
Like there's been like a couple where we've actually like made the exact same thing. It's whatever. Because we on the Instagram front we think just so similar, and that's because Mike literally taught me how to think like that. And then on the podcast I guess it's the same because we both now just have that same sort of idea of how it literally and all that. So
if I was to do a podcast, I would like listen to your head, to your voice, and be like, this. I mean, not saying that this has happened, but I know this would if I was doing one. Well, actually, when I when I would do like the script sometimes, your voice was always in my head, like, oh, do it this way. So no, it's helped me a lot. So yeah, it's both of us teaching each other stuff and like that. Yeah. So definitely. Because I went in back in the day, I was just a kid, but I was like 15. Went in there. I mean, you were younger, but I went 15 in or 14. Went in there, started doing podcasts, and I was just doing it for like for not giggles, but it was just like more for fun. Just I want to voice my opinion out there. As well, and I didn't really have any structure. Over the years, I learned, some things here and there, but all free work. I was just like by experience and stuff. But when I met this guy, it was just he brought a different energy, and because his stuff was focusing more on the podcast rather than Instagram, and I was on the other side. So learning that his forte of podcasting has taught me a lot, and he has it. When I entered his community with the exchange community, love y'all. It's just it. I was like, wow, he has his own little following and stuff like that. So yeah, it taught me a lot.
Yeah. As I said, it goes both ways. Yeah. So you just reminded me though. I did mention at the start, last night we watched those videos that I made when I was like 12. Anything to say on that? Only a very select few of people, I don't know if anyone listening to this would have been there, but for our friend Austin's like a little event, I did like a recreation of one of them. So if anyone was there, shout out to them. But what was it like for you experiencing that?
He showed me a little bit over the phone one time, before he left Australia, and I'm like, wait, how old were you again? How old were you?
12.
And he was like 12, and I was like, there's no way. I was just so impressed. Not just anyone can look. A monkey could come, cut together a video and stitch it together and put narration over, right? Like that's easy. Can't believe that's what they teach you in college, by the way. It's like if I feel like that's just
oh my God.
You've had classes like that yet? I was like, bro, and people are struggling. I was like, all right, you know what, whatever. Yeah. Anyways, but the way the pacing, the way he cut things out, the way like a video clip represented what the narration was saying, the style of it as well. I was just like, and the verbiage that he was using, the vocabulary. I was like, there's no way you were 12 years old. Like, it's just insane. I mean, I watched like all of it more clips last night, and I was just like, oh my God, like that is just absolutely insane. And he was doing this on his own on his YouTube channel, a 12-year-old. Yeah. So it's just, if anything, it was just very inspiring to watch.
Well, I appreciate it. For me, it was more just pain and agony.
Yeah, he was sitting there
listening to my voice.
He was cringing. I was just invested if I was just watching like a good AFL game, but it was really good. I know you guys won't be able to ever watch stuff like that from Ari again, but let me tell you something.
You never know.
You never know. Maybe one day. But seriously, high stuff.
Yeah, I guess it's just that. If anything, to me, like, it's just cringe as I find it personally, because I mean everyone finds just watching that stuff cringe, but I just like it motivates me personally, because I'm like, all right, I've really like wanted to do this sort of stuff since I was like that age. I'm like, you know what, we gotta keep doing with this. So that like,
and look at where you are.
Yeah, no, love it in Chicago.
Did
not expect that. But
no.
Anyways, but yeah, so we kind of talked about, we started it, we went off, we've done our stuff. Throughout this whole time, though, there was something that we were always talking about. Star Wars Celebration. Are we going to go to that? Are you going to go? Am I going to go? What's going to happen? I was always like, because obviously I finished high school last year. I'm starting my college pretty much now. And then I was like, okay, Celebration is in the break after the first semester. And I've absolute dream to go to one of them. I would love to go to one of them. So then I was like, I'm going to make it work. I'm going to go. I'm going to have a good time anyway. So then I sort of like sorted that stuff out, and then I was like, okay, I'm going. And then as me and Mike started to become really, really, really close, it was like, okay, are we going to go together? Like, what's going to happen? But I think you have more of an experience with that, so you can talk to it. But yeah, what was that whole like leading up to? Okay, I'm coming to the US for a few months. What we're going to go to Celebration? I'm going to come to Chicago. Like, how did that all like?
Yeah, anxiety, right? No,
yeah,
but I was always telling Ari, he would bring it up, and I'd be like, yeah, the pandemic. The pandemic.
That was like ages ago, because that was like 2021. We were like kind of good friends. I would be like, so do you think you come? And you're like, right now, probably not because of the pandemic. And I was like, know what it was like in America. It's like, oh, fair enough. Like, I don't know.
What's funny is they're probably like thinking like, you guys keep saying, oh, when we're just good friends. So we keep saying good, gooder, better, and I'm just best friends on top. So, anyways, sorry for all the confusion there. I know I'm confused. Like, wait,
when we became good friends,
what was that?
It was going up over time.
Yeah, it was going up over time. But yeah, when he would tell me, I was like, I don't know, because I was trying to get you there. I was trying to get tickets. Shout out Taylor, by the way. I got tickets from her, and he was able to get on. But thing was, I was like, I don't even know if I'm going. If I get a media badge, I'm sure that will push me. And I remember even when I got the feedback from Celebration after. Oh no, actually after I had anxiety filling out the media application form. I had anxiety doing that. Yeah. So it was just like insane to me. I was like, oh man, I don't know if I'm going with all this here. So I don't know. I just like at the end of it, after Ari's encouragement and stuff like that, I was able to go venture out and basically take that jump, which has totally altered my life trajectory now. I used to live day to day, wall to wall, and now it's just doing anything and all of it. So that's how we live now. So thanks to this guy. But Celebration, that I had been to the one in Chicago, and actually Ari and I drove down to downtown today in Chicago. And we passed the McCormick place where Celebration was for 2019. And I was just like, damn, it's like coming full circle when we passed it. But the fact that I was able to go to Anaheim was just, it still feels unreal. A month has passed, and I'm like, man, that was just so much fun. But also meeting Ari, and it was so cool that we were just.
By the way, if you want to hear about what it was like, because all this time we were digital friends. If you want to hear about what it was like the first time we ever met, go to the episode that was like our style Celebration experience. We talked about all about what it was like meeting each other for the first time. So,
and even leading up to it, you could see our excitement for the pre-show. For that episode, you guys can see our excitement at the end there, just bubbling and being like, well, this is our last podcast before Celebration.
Yeah.
So it was insane. I mean, just everything leading up to it. I remember walking up to the hotel and being like, where Ari was staying, and he was going to meet me in the lobby. Actually, I didn't even know where he was going to meet me. I thought he was going to wait for me outside. Actually, we've never talked about it. Why don't you wait for me outside?
There was just too many people, and I was like, you won't. It would have just been a weird first interaction. You're like awkwardly getting off the bus, and so I was like, I'll just go inside. So you're organized.
I have a little bit of walking distance. All right, fair enough.
It was like 4 meters.
It was 4 meters, but as soon as I walked in, saw this guy, and just like. It was the most exciting thing ever. I don't think I've ever been that excited to meet someone. So I was like beyond excited. And his family was watching from the sidelines virtually actually not. They were just over there living their own life, but they were excited for us to meet my family as well. So it was like, bam. It was just it was so exciting. We were bringing worlds together. And I mean, it was just an absolute experience at Celebration and stuff. But it just felt unreal that like, most co-hosts in our space, they don't actually ever meet. All these pages actually never meet. So the fact that it was like, I met people over the years online from the online space, but it was like this time I'm gonna meet someone that I've been talking to like every day for the past like 7 months, whatever it was. So it was a mind-blowing experience, and every time I look at him, I'm like, you still look different from that FaceTime call. It's a whole different experience altogether, and one that I will never forget.
Definitely.
There we go.
Vice versa. I can't really add to that. It was just, it was insane. It was so good.
At the end of the day, it was cool.
It was that. But and then we went to Anaheim, did Celebration, did Galaxy's Edge, all that.
Oh yeah,
we're about to put out a review of Galaxy's Edge, so you can listen to that. But and then I've been chilling in New York for the last month or so, and then starting to head back home. On the way, I got to make a few pit stops though, and of course Chicago. I'm making light of it. It was not a pit stop. I was always planning got to be in Chicago. So I've been staying with Mike for like a week now. I've been having a blast. A few more days till I get to my next stop, but it's been epic, and hopefully we can do more of this in-person stuff in the future, depending on life and how that all plays out for everyone. But I guess that's as much as I can think of our story so far, there's a lot of like little details and sort of like funny stories, I guess, that we would have over the time, but none are like coming to my head around. Do you have anything else you want to like add to the whole podcast in general?
Dang. I mean, it's like most podcasts that I've done with people haven't lasted like a year. So we are, and the fact that, and those were even like spaced out, bi-weekly show, whatever.
Yeah.
Like we've just been going every single week. So I've just like, it's all an experience. Even this is an experience because actually I'm always excited to podcast, but for this time around, while he's been here, I've just been like, not because of you guys or whatever, but just because it was like, or not because I don't like the podcast, but it was just like, it's been fun just hanging out.
We have limited time together. So
we've just been doing that and spending time hanging out, going out to parties or whatnot. But also exploring some of the cities. So it's been chill. But our story doesn't end here. It continues.
I'll make sure to title this So Far, because the story is not done yet. This is just the beginning. Cliche, I know, but it is. And we'll be running for a year once we get to December, so that'll be awesome. And I mean, let's talk about like the future just for a second here, because I mean, right now, like, we're not exactly like, the whole time when we were talking about in the future, it was Celebration and Chicago. It was like, that was sort of just where it was at for us. And now it's like, we don't, besides like knowing like, Andor's gonna come out, Bad Batch season 2 is gonna come out, or like in terms of Star Wars content, we know what's happening and we know what we're gonna cover. But then outside of that, it's like, what really is the future of the show? Well, I guess you're gonna find out and stuff. But obviously we're gonna cover everything as we always do, and it's not gonna be the same. We're gonna evolve and try and make it better, and then hopefully we can make in-person podcasts more regular.
Once a year. Hopefully once a year.
Yeah, exactly. So but that is the story so far, and I hope you guys enjoyed listening to that. And if and for those that had interest, then your interest is you're interested, and now your questions have been answered. But if you do have any questions about, like, I don't know, little things you want to know about us,
right,
this is probably the video to ask them on, where we'll reply to the comments and answer any questions you have. But obviously none of this possible without people listening. So
yes,
I appreciate everyone who listens. Obviously the regulars, they all know who they are and everything. So shout out to all you guys. But that pretty much wraps up our first ever in-person podcast together. If you haven't already, drop a like, subscribe, do all that. Follow us on Spotify, subscribe. Do it all. I'm not very good at outros.
No. He's better at intro and the outro. Do all that, and we haven't even done a podcast in a week, so I've already forgot. Just you guys know.
Rate the show. All Star Wars, Star Wars Exchange. Do that.
If you made it this far, I'm sure you know how to do it. So keep the conversation going with us.
Appreciate you guys. Thanks very much for watching. See you next week. May the Force be with you. See you later.